Jerry for so long. I really want to meet him to see what he's like in real life. I want to make sure he ain't a bad person.
How many kids you got?
In 2025, the entertainment industry could be shaken to its very core by an announcement so unexpected, so disruptive, and so laden with fallout that even the most jaded reality television viewers would have to pause mid-scroll to take it in. The sudden, simultaneous departure of Amy and Tammy Slaton from TLC. The two sisters whose 5+ years of triumphs, humiliations, tears, and outrageous cliffhangers have not only anchored one of the network's most lucrative franchises, but have also come to define an era of reality programming that thrives on the delicate balance between empathy and spectacle, between inspiration and exploitation, and between the narrative a network wants to tell and the reality that exists off-camera. For over half a decade, the 1000 Delby Sisters brand has been more than just a show about two women trying to escape the medical and emotional prison of extreme obesity. It has been a meme machine, a viral content generator, a fandom battlefield, and a slow-burning soap opera of health scares, family feuds, financial struggles, and small, hard-earned victories, all packaged into neatly edited 42-minute blocks and replayed endlessly on streaming platforms where every awkward pause, every sarcastic quip, and every tear-streaked confession can be dissected, remixed, and redistributed without context. And now, with whispers of contracts ending, resentment building, and opportunities outside the TLC bubble growing too big to ignore, insiders claim that Amy and Tammy could be on the verge of walking away entirely. An act that would not simply close a chapter, but detonate an entire narrative universe carefully constructed by producers who have, for years, held the sisters' personal lives in a vice grip of exclusivity clauses, image control, and storyline engineering so thorough that even moments fans swore were raw and real may have been reshot, reframed, or quietly staged. The reasons for such a break, if it happens, are not mysterious to those who have followed the undercurrents. Tammy, once written off by internet commenters as a lost cause destined to eat herself into an early grave, has undergone one of the most dramatic physical transformations in reality TV history. Shedding hundreds of pounds through bariatric surgery, rehabilitation, and an iron will honed by years of public mockery and near-death experiences. Emerging as a woman who can now travel without assistance, walk into restaurants under her own power, and even zipline, a feat unimaginable in the show's early seasons, while Amy, having endured the upheaval of marriage, divorce, and single motherhood, has achieved her lifelong dream of becoming a mom. All while managing the constant push and pull between being a relatable, loving parent on screen and being a real, exhausted human being in the messy privacy of her off-screen life. To the casual viewer, there is still plenty of story left to tell. More health milestones, more family drama, more potential redemptions, but behind the scenes, there are signs of fracture. Allegations that TLC has been artificially capping the sisters' social media income by imposing restrictions on which platforms they can monetize. Rumors of manufactured drama demanded by producers to spike viewership, and growing discontent from Amy and Tammy themselves, who have begun to chafe under the sense that their most vulnerable moments, from visits to therapy sessions to parenting struggles, are being mined for ratings without fair compensation or adequate respect for their mental and emotional well-being. Should they decide to leave, the first aftershock wouldn't even be their departure itself, but the tidal wave of truth that might follow. As years of gag orders, non-disclosure agreements, and behind-the-scenes politicking collapse under the weight of two women finally telling their story in their own words, without a network-approved filter, and the possibilities here are staggering. Tammy, now more confident and less afraid of public backlash, could fire up a TikTok live and begin recounting in unflinching detail the ways producers allegedly exaggerated her medical emergencies for dramatic effect, or how arguments with family members were scheduled, blocked, and sometimes entirely fabricated. while Amy could take to YouTube or Instagram and tearfully recount how custody disputes over her children, which fans assumed were purely personal, were in fact subtly pushed along by producers hungry for conflict arcs that would keep audiences coming back. Such revelations would do more than tarnish TLC's image, they would crack open the larger, festering truth about a reality television economy that thrives on the pain, humiliation, and vulnerability of its talent while paying them a fraction of what the network earns from their suffering. And if those truths were delivered not by obscure, long-forgotten former cast members, but by two of the most recognizable reality TV figures in America, the internet would erupt in a way that no PR crisis team could fully contain. Hashtags like #Justice for Tammy and #Free the SLA Tons would trend for days. Tabloids would pounce on every quote, and TLC's lawyers would scramble to muzzle the sisters through aggressive cease and desist orders. But even that would be just the beginning, because a departure like this would inevitably trigger a legal war. The network has invested millions into the Slaton brand through marketing campaigns, international distribution, and years of filming. And if they sense that Amy and Tammy's exit could embolden other talent to rebel against restrictive contracts, they might not hesitate to sue for breach, damages, or enforcement of exclusivity, clauses that could bar the sisters from appearing on any competing network or streaming platform for years. However, what TLC can't manufacture, and what might give the Slatons the upper hand in the court of public opinion, is genuine human emotion. The same raw, unscripted authenticity that drew audiences to them in the first place. And if that emotion were poured into their own independent ventures, the results could be both financially and culturally seismic. Imagine Tammy launching a no-holds-barred podcast called The Real Tammy, with weekly guests ranging from fellow reality stars to medical professionals to estranged family members. Each episode peeling back another layer of reality TV's polished facade, climbing the podcast charts so quickly that Spotify, Apple, or even Netflix might start bidding for exclusive distribution rights. Picture Amy releasing a memoir marketed as the unfiltered truth about motherhood, reality, fame, and survival. A book filled with raw anecdotes about postpartum depression, financial strain, and the impossible standards set by both producers and fans, which could land on bestseller lists within weeks. Or the sisters teaming up for a co-written expose about food addiction, trauma, and the dark bargains of fame, drawing speaking invitations from universities, health conferences, and media festivals. While brands that once might have mocked or ignored them now court them for sponsorships, clothing lines, and body positive campaigns, with Tammy perhaps spearheading a Real Sizes for Real People apparel brand, and Amy collaborating on a line of parenting products designed for moms who feel excluded by mainstream marketing. But fame without the guardrails of a network brings its own hazards. And the sisters would quickly learn that while their fans might cheer their freedom, their critics would grow louder and meaner, trolls recycling old insults about their weight, voice, and appearance, conspiracy theorists accusing them of faking their independence for attention, and even former allies turning against them in exchange for a paycheck from TLC, which could keep the 1000 Delby Sisters franchise alive by shifting focus to other family members, perhaps even positioning their brother Chris as the new centerpiece while framing Amy and Tammy in spin-off specials as selfish or ungrateful deserters. In such a climate, every misstep the sisters make, from a clumsy tweet to a bad product review, could be magnified into a scandal, forcing them to navigate not just the minefield of post-network fame, but the personal betrayals that can come when money, ego, and public perception collide. Yet therein lies the potential for the most dramatic narrative turn of all. The moment when the sisters, battered by public judgment but unshaken in their decision, look into a camera and declare that they are no longer property of TLC, that their lives are not plot lines to be chopped into act breaks and scored with ominous music, and that from this moment forward, every triumph, every failure, every mundane Tuesday is theirs alone, a statement that, in its raw sincerity, might prove to be more viral, more powerful, and more enduring than anything the network could script. And in doing so, they would not just be resigning from a television show, but stepping into a high-stakes gamble where the reward is total freedom and the risk is total collapse. A gamble that could reshape not only their futures, but the way audiences, networks, and the media at large think about the ownership of personal narratives in the age of reality fame.
She's older than I am, so I'm gonna say she's old, and she don't heal as well as she used to. Just adds a little bit more fear.
Amy and Tammy may already be ready for this. More ready than anyone, even TLC, realizes. Because if the whispers coming from insiders and leaked DMs are to be believed, they may have been quietly building an arsenal for years, secretly. Filming behind-the-scenes moments on their phones, taking screenshots of manipulative producer texts, keeping handwritten journals about staged confrontations and reshot scenes, logging call times that were pushed past exhaustion levels, and collecting snippets of audio that capture off-camera conversations where producers outline how they'll nudge a family fight into a screaming match. And if those materials ever saw daylight, if the sisters dropped them in one coordinated, online detonation, TLC wouldn't just be scrambling to control a PR mess. They'd be staring down the barrel of a full-blown industry scandal. Because no network executive wants confidential emails, unedited raw footage, or internal contract memos leaking into the public domain, especially not from talent who are beloved enough to be believed instantly by millions. And in that scenario, walking away wouldn't just be an act of rebellion. It would be revolutionary, a seismic statement that could shift the power balance between reality stars and the corporations that package their lives for profit. But leaving TLC would also unleash a war inside the Slaton family itself, because Chris Combs, the brother who has, over the seasons, carved out his own role as a fan favorite with his down-to-earth humor and loyalty, would find himself in the crosshairs, forced to choose between the sisters who share his blood and the network that signs his paychecks. And TLC, which has never shied from exploiting family tensions, would waste no time turning him into a pawn, dangling offers of a personal spin-off, promising him more money and solo screen time, and subtly pressuring him to go on record framing Amy and Tammy as selfish traitors who abandon not just their fans, but their family. And it wouldn't stop there, because extended relatives, the ones who pop in and out of the show a few times a season, could suddenly find themselves thrust into the spotlight as TLC searches for replacement drama, introducing cousins, uncles, and even childhood friends willing to toe the network line in exchange for airtime. Leaving Tammy and Amy watching in horror as people they grew up with choose contracts over loyalty. Fracturing a family that once laughed, cried, and fought together on camera into camps divided by money, ego, and narrative control, and the fan base, ever passionate and combative, would splinter too, with some rallying behind the sisters as heroes finally breaking free. Others denouncing them as ungrateful divas who forgot that TLC made them. And that split would spill across TikTok duets, YouTube reaction videos, and Facebook comment wars, creating a civil war in the fandom where even longtime supporters might turn on each other. Yet from that chaos could rise something bigger than anything TLC could have scripted. Because the sisters could launch their own independent reality project on YouTube, Instagram TV, or a niche streaming platform. One entirely under their control, with no storyline manipulation, no manufactured fights, just raw footage of their daily lives filmed by their own crew, edited on their own terms, and released whenever they choose. And because fans are starved for authenticity, they'd flood to it in droves, bringing with them ad revenue and sponsorship deals that would put cash directly into the sisters' pockets instead of TLC's bank account. And if they were smart, it wouldn't stop there. Amy could branch into mom-focused products like cookbooks filled with quick pick ties, filled with quick, affordable recipes for busy parents, children's toys designed with inclusivity in mind, and parenting workshops streamed live, while Tammy could roll out a bold, unfiltered lifestyle brand with t-shirts bearing her viral one-liners, mugs printed with her most savage TikTok quotes, hoodies reading "Still Here" in big block letters, and maybe even a subscription box filled with her favorite comfort items. All of it forming a homegrown empire built by Slatons for Slaton fans. Something no network could ever own, but for every glossy dream of independence, there's a lurking nightmare. Because fame, especially reality TV fame, is a beast that doesn't sleep just because you've left the show. And without the protective layer of network, PR, and editing. Every raw nerve, every bad day, every late-night misstep becomes fodder for viral scandal. And where TLC's editors once cut around Tammy's worst outbursts or Amy's moments of exhaustion, the internet will show no mercy, meaning one unfiltered 3 a.m. live rant from Tammy could spiral into headlines about instability, while a single paparazzi shot of Amy looking tired while wrangling her kids could spawn fabricated tabloid stories about neglect. And worse, with no NDA-protected inner circle, betrayal from within becomes a very real risk. An ex-partner, a disgruntled friend, or even a distant relative could sell exclusive dirt to gossip blogs, leaking intimate details about relationships, bank balances, or undisclosed medical issues. The kind of secrets TLC might have chosen not to air, but which outsiders would gleefully monetize for clicks, and suddenly, the fight wouldn't just be about breaking free from a network, okay? It would be about surviving a feeding frenzy from every opportunist who smells blood in the water. And yet, despite all these dangers, one fact remains immovable. Leaving might be the only path to true control. The first real chance for Amy and Tammy to decide what parts of themselves the world gets to see and how they are framed. And that is why a 2025 exit would hit like a thunderclap. Because it wouldn't just be a career move, it would be the ultimate act of defiance after years of being told where to go, what to say, how to cry, and when to smile. And in doing so, they would force audiences to confront a question that reality TV has been dodging for decades. What happens to the people who were the show when the cameras stop rolling, when the crew packs up, when the production schedule disappears, and they are left with nothing but their names, their faces, their reputations, and the internet's endless hunger for more? And the truth is, the real storm wouldn't be the announcement itself, but what came after. In the weeks and months of chaos that would follow on one side, a billion-dollar network with seasoned lawyers, veteran PR spin doctors, and airtight contracts. On the other, two Kentucky women armed with nothing more than cell phones, millions of loyal fans, and a story too raw to fake, a clash unlike anything reality TV has seen before, where the first punch barely registers because the real damage comes in the relentless back and forth, in the daily leaks, counter-leaks, and viral moments that no one can control. Picture it, just days after resigning, Amy uploads a tearful TikTok confessing she never wanted her children filmed but was coerced by producers, sparking outrage and child exploitation accusations, followed by screenshots of alleged producer, texts making demands for more emotional scenes. Then Tammy going live to recount how she was pushed to restage fights multiple times so they could be shot from better angles. And just as quickly as fans side with them, TLC fires back through. The tabloids with anonymous insider claims painting the sisters as erratic, greedy, and unwilling to work, fueling a media wildfire where no one knows which leaks are real and which are planted. And through it all, Amy and Tammy, for the first time in their careers, have no network safety net. No one to protect them from themselves or the public. And while that vulnerability could destroy them, it could also be their sharpest weapon. Because if they lean into their legendary honesty and refuse to hide, the internet